So I'm just going to drive over carefully. Handle's all right. Episode 3 of the micro build. I want to do a bit of housekeeping first. So, with the fire extinguisher, I mentioned about about all the regulations. So you will get that with your fire extinguisher, and in there it will give you all the information you need, where the nozzles need to be in the cockpit and in the engine bay, and whatever kit you've got, you will have to put you'll have to set your fire extinguisher system up to that. The other thing I wanted to clear up was the seat rule. So the seat was 5 years plus an added 2 for Motorsport UK. The harnesses, 8853 2016, 5 years plus an extra 5 from Motorsport UK. And then I think we talked about the mud flaps. They are within 80 mil off the ground and 40 mil each side of the tyre. So today, is that my notebook? It's my little notebook where I write notes. Today, firstly, we're going to fit some stuff that I've had. Brakes. So these are from Questmead. Stephen didn't give them for free, but I'm sure one day he might, maybe. Had to pay for these with hard-earned money. So here they are. Right. These are packed very nicely. In here, usually an unpacking goes a lot better than this one, but this is reality.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Mintex 1155 competition brake pads. They're not cheap, but they are a competition pad. I found that these work the best on the micro because you do need to warm them up to get them to work properly, but they'll still work a little bit when they're cold. So they're not too aggressive and they don't hammer your discs. Because I've gone for just a normal blueprint disc, and if you get any other brake pad, competition brake pad, they can eat into the disc and just wreck your disc. But these are all right. These seem to be all right from what I've used in the past. So we got a nice set of discs as well, vented on the front. Let's put these on the vehicle. Right, I've loosened most of this already, which is a bit of a cheat, I know, but 12mm nuts, holding the caliper on, put that there. It's on a braided hose as well. So these pads aren't, they're not that old, but as in, they're not that hard used, padded pads, but they've just been stud. Take the carrier off, 14mm on the back there. Some people use like rattle guns on everything, but I like to use a bit of wrist action. Easy the carrier off. Disc off. This is not a very worn disc, but it's been stud, so it's gone all corroded, and I just don't think it'll break very nicely. Let's put the new ones on. Beautiful unboxing. Nice new discs, so you can see the difference. That one's nice and shiny and that one isn't. We'll give them a clean with some brake cleaner. Just gets like there's like a residue on them that they use for storing them. I mean, you could probably just stick them on, drive down the road and burn that residue off, but gotta look professional, don't we? Always make sure these surfaces are quite clean. These are. Now, it's not like a road car, this, where, they've been on here for flipping years and they've all built up a load of brake dust and rust and stuff. It is a competition car, so these have been on and off quite a few times. So all these surfaces are pretty clean on it. So, there's nothing seized on it. Which is why I like working on motorsport vehicles rather than standard road cars. Everything seems to come undone on them. Unless you crash it, and everything's bent and hard to get off. These are already a little bit lubed as well, so that's fine. I will grease the sliders and grease the pads before they go back on. It's more like a how-to, this, isn't it? Like the cooking channel, but for cars. get the torque wrench on them after. That in there. These are like anti-rattle things. Might help with pad knockoff as well. I like the smell of new brake pads. Bit of ceramic brake grease. That in there. And there's the other one in. Look at that. I'm going to pull these out. And I'll give them a little grease on the little pins. But I mean, they're pretty good anyway, so they're not seized or anything. Now I just need to push the caliper back. Reservoir cap is off. Big pump grips. That goes in nice and easy. Just make sure you don't damage that boot there, because once you damage that boot, all the dirt gets in there and you could potentially seize the caliper. Now these pads will need bedding in. Steve's written a procedure down on there. That's the caliper tight, caliper carrier tight, new discs and pads. Same on the other side now. If you know how to do the brakes yourself on your car, then you can do the brakes on your rally car as well. Caliper off, take the carrier off, 214s, disc off. Nice. It's like tweaking nipples. Nip the nips up, bit of brake grease. So we'll just push the caliper back. I've always got quite a lot of rallies out of these brake pads, so that's again why I use them, just value for money. They're a really good brake pad, and I do get on quite well with the people who supply these, Questmead, and I've always had a good service from them, so I'm still quite loyal to them. And Steve always recommends what he thinks is best, because he's got loads of customers that use all his products, so he gets a lot of feedback off that, and then I've just borrowed his knowledge basically. Make sure you torque everything. Brakes done, new brakes on the Micra, job done. I'm going to stick the wheels back on now, send her out, and put her on the tracking machine. Make sure she's pointing in the right direction. It says on this pot here, if you look in there, it says SRF. SRF is a type of brake fluid, it's quite a high performance brake fluid, which is good, but it means if it's got SRF in it, you cannot mix it with any other brake fluid. So I know it's got a sticker on there, but is that sticker, I mean, I don't know if it's got SRF in it or not, so that's a tricky one. So unfortunately, I might have to drain the whole system and either put SRF back in or change it for another type of brake fluid. We want a competition brake fluid to stop it boiling and getting brake fade and losing the pedal. So SRF would be a good choice, because if you do mix it, if you put SRF and you put some normal .4 on top of that, it'll turn to jelly and it'll like block everything and it'll just mess up the whole braking system. So there's some, if you're buying a competition car, just make sure you know what's in it, and maybe if it's been stood like this and you don't know the history of it, maybe flush it out before you use it, before you rally it. That's just a little tip. Let's track it. Let's do some four-wheel alignment. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to go and take it round and put it on the tracking machine. So I'm just going to drive over carefully. Right, tracking. Lock the wheel. So you got this device here. Make sure the wheel is square and is centre, because you want to track the car straight. You want the steering to be straight, you don't want it out of line, it's just horrible. So put that on there, that locks the wheel in place. Just make sure that's it. That's dead straight there now. Because this is a front wheel drive Nissan Micra, you can't adjust the back. The back is non-adjustable, but the front is. So that's basically, we're going to track the front wheels. The back just follows along. But it will tell me on the tracking machine if there's any issues on the back, like a bent beam or something out of line. So if you do a couple of rallies, maybe hit something quite hard, what you can do is get it on the tracking and the alignment system, and it'll tell you if there's anything bent or out of line. First stage was lock the steering wheel off. Second stage, get a tyre pressure gauge, make sure all the tyre pressures are the same. The other thing to note, if you've got coilover suspension, is make sure that the both front ones and the rear ones, if they're adjustable in the rear, are the same height. I've done that. The front platforms are the same height, so I don't have to worry about that. 35 in there. So those two are all right. Catch me if you can. But that's that one. Yeah, that's that one. Fantastic. So next job is get the wheel clamps on. So this is, like, not all these systems are the same, but this is a Hoffman system, which is pretty good. You need to be an octopus to do this. This is so many different. The other thing is race tyres. They haven't got many grooves. You've got to try and get it into a groove so those little grippers grip on. But I'm going to put these little heads on. These all talk to each other. They make a box around the car, so we can take measurements off. So you put that on there. It's got a little level built in. So a little digital level there. So you make sure it's level in the middle there, and then leave it at that. But you put them all the way around. Slightly different design on the front because it's got a beam that's going across. Once you get all those level on the car, then that's that bit done. Then we go to the computer. Here's the computer. We haven't done caster, but we got camber is there. So we've got negative camber on each side, which is quite close to the same on both sides. So I'm quite happy with that. So we can't adjust the camber anyway on this, but we'll leave that as it is. I'm happy with that. So tracking, we've got a little bit too much toe in. We need to adjust them. I like to go for about 1 mil toe in all round on the Micra. So some front wheel drive cars, they like to be parallel, they like to be 0, like 205s and things like that. I mean, it is your preference. The more you're driving the car, you can try different setups and things like that. But I like to have toe in slightly, so the wheels are slightly toeing in like that. So that means that it's more steerable like that. If you have it toeing out, it's like skiing really. If you're skiing with your skis in, you're going to go forward in straight, aren't you? So, and it's more controlled. Whereas if you got your legs out like that, it's less controlled. So yeah, let's go for 1 mil in. So all you need for this is some mole grips to hold the steering arm, and then a 19 mil to undo the lock nut. That's undone. Right, now you need to keep an eye on the gauge over there. So if you have a look on the gauge there. Now if you see the driver's side, we're going to adjust that to 1 mil. Right, 1 mil. It's going to be a job to lock it bang on 1 mil. If I can get it close, I'll be happy. Right, same again this side. Tracking is important. People think you don't have to worry about it, but you do. Just make the car handle better and do what you want it to do. So we've tracked this to 1 mil in. Obviously I need to test it, and if I'm not quite happy with it tracked at 1 mil in, then we can adjust it, but I think it will handle fine like that. There's loads of different variations of tracking and setups on cars, and some suit drivers, some setups suit other drivers and some prefer other things. Not everyone likes the same setup, so it is a bit of personal preference and testing and finding what suits you. But for the first time, I'd recommend something like that, like a base setting, and then you can adapt it to that. I think that's a good way of putting it, maybe. This is a mucky job, an oily job, so I'm putting some gloves on, health and safety and all that. Right, I've already removed the sump guard. So it's good to change the oil on a car, especially if it's been sat around for a long time and not done anything. It's flipping tight. Why is it so tight? They don't need to be that tight. See what colour it is when it comes out. Yeah, it's pretty black. I don't think that's been changed in a while, to be fair. So that's good. As in, it's a good idea to change it. I put a bit of oil around this, but I'm putting a new copper washer on there. I haven't seen underneath the sump guard yet, so this is the first time really. These are prone for rotting out on Nissan Micras, these cross members here. As you can see, this isn't fantastic. The corner there is starting to go. It's quite solid there, but it's been patched in the past. All these bushes have been changed, which is cool. They're all poly bushes. That one, these ones here, these ones. Someone spent some money on it at some point in its life. Sump plug back in. Nip that up, not hang off it like the last person. That is enough. Right, next. Oil filter is right up there. It's all dirty. So I'm going to pull that off. Big grips. Someone will tell me I'm doing this wrong, but I'm not. So you get a little bit of oil and just rub it around the seal there like that, so that the seal doesn't churn up on itself. Here's some oil. So we need 3.1 litres in a Micra. I'll put some in there, and then we'll go and put this back in place. This is going to be mucky. It's going to be heavy breathing. Doesn't need to be too tight. Just needs to be nipped up so it doesn't leak oil everywhere. Now we just need to top it up with oil. Right, we're on the top of the engine now. And in here is where I'm going to put the oil. All 3.1 litres of it. So what we got here? 3.1 litres, exactly. I need a tump fat. Tump fat is Welsh for funnel. I might bring some Welsh into the programme. Just, you know, it could be give you some Welsh lessons at the same time. So I haven't just by chance picked up a oil can and there was 3.1 litres on it. I've made sure there's 3.1 litres on it just to make things a little bit simpler. This, you need to change the oil quite regularly on a race car because it does get a lot of abuse in the engine. So I'd probably say if you can afford it, do it after every race. There you go, nice golden. So let's run it and then just check for any leaks. Well, there's no oil light on, so that's a good sign. No leaks, all good, all dry. It's the oil change done. I want to run it down the road, do a little bedding procedure on the brakes that we fitted, and just make sure the car is generally okay. This is the sustainable fuel that we've been using on a few of our videos, protecting the environment and all that. So the next job we're going to do is do a bit of brake bedding in these Mintex pads. So Steve sent me a bedding procedure. So once they're fitted, apply the brake pedal at crawl in place to establish the brake system is working correctly. Step 2, start the bedding process with 3 to 4 light applications of the brake pedal from 30 mile an hour to 10 mile an hour. Follow the steps according to which material you have fitted. So we've fitted 1155 brake pads. So we need 8 medium pedal pressure applications from 90 to 30 mile an hour. Probably won't do 90 that often, and we are on public roads. So we'll do like 60 to 30. So light pressure applications. When carrying out the bedding process, do not trail brake, left foot brake, or allow the vehicle to come to a complete stop, because you might cook the pads there. To do so may hinder the future performance of the material. Right. Once the process is complete, allow the brakes to cool completely before returning to the circuit. So basically, we'll go and bed them, park the car, and leave it cool. I don't know if you can hear me over the noise of the car. But one good thing is, after tracking it, it drives dead straight down the road. So if you look at the steering wheel, it is straight, and we're going straight, which is good. So we go up to 30, and brake, 30, and brake, to 50, and brake, 50, brake. You can feel them getting a lot more aggressive. Handles alright. No weird noises. All the gear changes are good. So we're almost at the end of our micro build series. No, we're not at the end of it. We're at the end of getting it to a point where we can rally it. So hopefully the next episode, we'll test the micro under rally conditions. We've done a little spin down the road, made sure everything's all right. But the next test will be a proper rally conditions test. We did this. I didn't cover this at the start, but the reason we bought something already mostly done is because the idea was a budget rally series, a budget build series, and the cheapest way to go rallying is to buy something that's already done. If you go and build something from scratch, it's going to cost you a lot more than it is if you build something half done. If you buy something half done and just improve it and make it a little bit better, and you're quicker out onto the stages then, because most of the hard work's done before you get to it. Now, it's really windy today, so I'm going to get back in the car. But the next time you see this car will hopefully be at the test under rally conditions. We're going to go over some of the pace notes and co-driving, and we're going to talk a bit about that. So the main thing you can do is like, subscribe, so I can keep doing it, so I can keep doing more. Thank you. See you later.